could you just talk about deep sleep a little bit more? Are you using that synonymously with presence, awareness? That's just another...
Yes. When I use the term deep sleep in this context, I'm not referring to a state which is conceived by the waking state mind.
We just use that concept, but that's...
Which is a concept. I'm speaking of the actual experience of ourself before thinking, sensing and perceiving has arisen.
Yeah, our term sleep gives us the wrong connotation.
Yes, yes. The waking state mind conceives of deep sleep as a state of the mind. I'm referring to it as the complete absence of sensing, thinking and perceiving, just the pure knowingness, which subsequently becomes, so to speak, the substance of thinking, sensing and perceiving. So it's not even true. Sometimes we use the phrase thinking arises, or a thought arises or appears. Nothing, in fact, arises or appears. Because this would suggest that there was awareness and then something appeared in awareness, from outside of awareness. But nothing comes from outside. There is no outside, and therefore no inside of awareness. There is just awareness. And this sole substance of experience is modulated and becomes thinking, sensing and perceiving. Thinking then says, conceptualizes these as thoughts, sensations and perceptions, then a mind, a body and a world. And then thought says that these arise in or appear in awareness or space. But that, even that formulation makes a concession to the belief that there are objects which appear in awareness and then disappear. Nothing real appears, nothing real disappears. That which is never ceases to be. That which is not never comes into existence. The substance of all experience is already present. It's the only thing, the only stuff that is present, and it is that stuff, which is our self, that is then apparently modulated in all the forms of experience, just like this transparent silent breath is modulated in all the forms of music.
So in this yoga that we did this morning, as we went through these different stages, and we got to just the presence, that could also be said as deep sleep.
Yes.
But we were awake, but we were in deep sleep because we weren't
exactly.
laying down, and that. But that was.
Yes. So
these terms are difficult.
The exploration we did this morning was like an experiential return to ourself. A return, and because we were exploring the body, we were returning, as it were, from the feeling of being a solid body. We were tracing our way back and seeing at each stage that the body was experienced as less and less solid, until we realized that it's only made of the knowing of it, only made of pure knowing.
And less awake. And what we call awake state that was really...
Yes, and that this knowing substance is aware. It's wide awake. It doesn't go to sleep. It doesn't turn off. The body didn't become that. What we were actually doing was relieving our experience of successive layers of imposed concepts, superimposed concepts. In fact, we were never a body that became more and more and more subtle. We are always only this presence of awareness. The body is always only that. But thinking had added layer upon layer upon layer first of all, describes this completely empty knowingness as having a very subtle objectivity, hence the image of air. The body being made out of air rather than out of pure emptiness. And then the air becomes water, and then the water becomes wood. These are the successive layers of superimposed beliefs that thought alone imagines and superimposes on awareness. Of course, that thought itself is only made of awareness. So the whole thing takes place in awareness, made out of awareness, and therefore there is no real veiling of our true nature.
What a relief.
Exactly. Well, exactly. That's it. What a relief! Because when we realize this, we know that there's nothing need be opposed in life. What is there in our experience? In order to oppose, there need to be at least two parts. One part here that says no to the other part over there. I don't like that. But in this seamless substance made out of this pure knowing, there are no parts. There is no separate self present to oppose and therefore to seek. So the separate self is the first. The separate self is like a precipitation, precipitated out of this seamless, colourless substance. It's the first object to arise, and with the arising of this primal object, the I thought, the seamlessness of awareness, the not-to-ness of awareness, seems to be divided in two parts. Me, a separate I, a separate awareness, and everything else. And then the everything else is then further subdivided into a multiplicity and diversity of objects. And from that moment, from the moment that the I thought arises, opposition, resistance becomes possible. I, in this little corner of experience, does or doesn't like the rest of the world, either wants to reject the rest or cling on to the rest. That is unhappiness. That movement is suffering. But in the absence of this manufactured self, that there is no resistance, there is no opposition, and therefore there is no seeking. What do we call that in life when there is no opposition or resistance? It's just called happiness. That's what happiness is, that the natural condition of all experience. It's not an experience of a body or a mind. It is the substance of all experience. It is how experience experiences itself. Not how a separate I seems to experience the rest, but from the inside, from experience's point of view, which is of course the only real point of view, experience experiences everything equally close. It cannot resist. There is nothing inside itself with which it could resist itself. That is the experience of happiness. What a relief, exactly. And there's nothing to resist and nowhere to go. Who would be the one that was resisting, and who would be the one that was going somewhere? Where does the actor on the screen go? It can never leave the screen. It can seem to resist, it can seem to go somewhere, but it never truly resists anything. There is no real resistance. That is why in India they say that they don't have a word for ignorance. It's the illusion of ignorance. There is no real ignorance. There is no real resistance. And therefore there is no real suffering. Mm-hmm.
So during the